Welcome to the Inner Entrepreneur. My name is Paul Ryan, and today is one of our mini pods. I've been thinking recently about the difference between a dreamer and an achiever. And we all know dreamers, people who have fantasies and big ideas, but never seem to make much progress. And we know achievers, people who just seem to get shit done, who have a plan, and you meet them 12 months later and it's done. So, what's the difference between someone who just dreams about their future and someone who makes shit happen? The answer was demonstrated very clearly to me about a week ago, riding on my bike one beautiful sunny morning in the hills of Benevis, not far from where I am. It's a beautiful town, it's a lovely ride, and it's not too difficult. But when you get to the top of the town of Benevis, there's a sharp turn left, and it takes you up to a country club and a lovely cafe. If you take that turn, the road turns into a wall. Well, not literally a wall, but it turns into probably the most difficult climb for about a kilometer that I have ever seen. Now, I've cycled all over Europe and I've done some very difficult climbs. And this, to me, is probably one of the most difficult I've tackled. Now, it's short, it's only about a kilometer, but it is steep. It is rock hard. I remember the first time I tried it, I just couldn't get up it at all. Eventually, I got up it a couple of times. So when I returned to Spain this year, on one of my early rides, I decided I've got to climb the hill in Benavis. It just gives me great satisfaction to do it. So about a week ago, I head out and I go to tackle the climb. As soon as I get onto it, I'm reminded just how difficult this climb it is. I mean, it literally is standing up on your bike with all the effort you can muster just to get up the hill. And I'm looking up the hill. I mean, I really want to get up the hill because I want to go back and tell all my friends about climbing this hill. So I'm looking up at the summit, wondering, how did I manage to climb this before? And how on earth am I going to manage to do it now? But I keep pushing and pushing. And I think to myself, today, it's my first day back riding in Spain. If I get just halfway, there's a halfway stopping point. I'll stop there, come back down, and then later in the week, I'll go again. I'll have another shot at it. So I start climbing. And eventually I just have to turn around and I realize I'm only about 25% up the climb. That's it. I'm only about a quarter of the way up the climb, and mentally and physically, I cannot go anymore. I'm just daunted by this. So I turn around, I'm a bit deflated, a bit disappointed, roll back down the hill and continue on my ride. So a couple of days later, I arrive back at the foot of this climb and I'm ready to go again. And I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, okay, this time I've got to get up at least half the way up this climb. But it's so challenging. As soon as I get up on the bike, I start going, but my focus shifts immediately. So on the previous climb, I had been focused on the summit. I'd been looking up to where I want to go. I mean, I really want to get up there. So I'd been looking up and I'd been focusing on climbing the hill, looking to the summit. But this time I tried a different strategy. I didn't look to the summit. Now I remember that I've used this strategy to climb difficult hills before. Don't know why I didn't remember it the first time, but I remembered it this time. I knew I wanted to get to the top of the summit, so that was my goal, that was my ambition. But I immediately dropped my eyes to the ground. So I only looked at the ground. I looked at my wheel rolling around, and my complete focus and my complete presence was focused on the ground in front of me and pushing one foot, then the next, then one at the next. My entire focus was simply just on the wheel moving in front of me. So much so, I wasn't even looking at where the road was going, and I had to look at the arrow markings on the road to see when I would turn and when the road would go around a bend. So I trapped my focus exclusively on the ground right in front of me, eyes down. Now I have a little computer on my bike that tells me the gradient, and if I glanced at that, it was showing red, 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 but I wouldn't even look at the computer because I wanted nothing to distract me from the work. And the work was simply this: get one rotation of the wheel, push and move, push and pull. That was all my focus was on. Pretty quickly, I mean, about a minute into the climb, I began to think, is this climb a bit easier than it was before? I mean, it was still bloody difficult, but it wasn't impossible. So I kept pushing and pushing, kept on going and wondering, am I at the halfway point yet? But I said, I'm not looking. I'm just pushing. And I kept on going and kept on going. Now, remember, I've said often in my podcasts and videos, where focus goes, energy flows. Well, my focus was entirely on each movement of climbing up that hill. It was nowhere else. Eventually, after several minutes, I decided I better see how far up I am. I looked up and I could see that I was this close to the summit. So I had to push for about another 30 seconds and I reached the summit. I was ecstatic. I was delighted. And when I paused at the top of the hill to look over the beautiful mountains of Benavis and right down over Marbella and across the ocean, and it was a beautiful reward. But I thought to myself, this is the difference between dreaming and achieving. This is the difference. You see, a dreamer looks at the goal, has a vision. And by the way, don't get me wrong here. You always start with a dream. You always start with a vision. That's essential. If you want to get somewhere, you have to know in your heart and your mind, you have to picture it and feel it. You have to know where you want to go. And visualization is a very powerful tool, but it's not enough. Because once you know where you want to go, then you have to do the work to get there. Then it's a journey to get there. So know where you want to go and then focus on the journey. And the secret to me achieving that climb was knowing where I wanted to go. And as soon as I did that, focus exclusively on what was the enormously hard work ahead of me to get there. So my conclusion is that the difference between achieving and dreaming is dreamers are lost at the top of the hill. They're dreaming about the summit, but they're not thinking, how am I going to get there? How am I going to climb this hill? And the achiever looks at the summit. They look at it and they know in their heart they really, really want to get there. Once they lock that in, then they put all their effort and focus and all their energy on doing the work to get there, rolling the wheel one step after the next. They just focus on the work I have to do now, step by step. And if they continue doing that work step by step, compounding, eventually they're going to look up and find that they're almost at the summit. And that was the secret for me. I've gone back and done that ride 2 or 3 times since over the past week. And every time when I get to the bottom, I look first at the top and go, that's where I'm going. And then I switch my focus exclusively on the wheel in front of me and just do the work. So the learning from this, for me, and hopefully from you, is have the big dream. Absolutely. Understand it, feel it, visualize, know exactly what you want. But then get 99% of your focus and energy back to the work, back to the step in front of you. And that's how you become the achiever and not just the dreamer. Thank you for listening to today's episode. As always, if you enjoyed it, please like, subscribe, comment, and share it with your friends. It really helps the show. Until next time, take care.